gonna take my time. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Okay.
Good morning, Judith, on this first day of autumn, according to Google.
Well, I don't believe that. The 23rd of September. Since when has that ever been anything? I mean, that's just a bizarre date.
Made
Random,
up date.
Nicola.
Made up date.
It is.
But it is episode 46 today.
I know, it is 46, yes.
I've come up with a brilliant way of celebrating episode 50. Well, I think it's brilliant, obviously.
I was going to say 50 or 52. Yes, tell me.
I'm going to create an extra episode out of all our funny bits.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so people could. I thought it'd be nice, a little sort of, little teaser video, a little viral video. I mean, obviously,
Yes.
it'd be a bit of fun, but I thought that might be quite fun to do.
That would be, yes.
I think our listeners should let us know. Come to Own It, the podcast, episode 56, and tell us what you think of that idea. If you'd like to.
Hang on a minute. You just said episode 56. What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm completely going bonkers. It's 46, of course. Oh, my word. Already, we're only 3 minutes in. Ridiculous. So tell me about your week then, Judith, while I recover.
Well, two things. As you've seen, no doubt, from Facebook, I am still a month in and mad for my colouring hobby.
Oh, yes. You got that last one, was nice. Arts and crafts.
I love it. I love the whole thing. I'm still loving it, which, as you know, creators and entrepreneurs, we change our minds quite often. So 30 days into a new hobby and still loving it's quite a long time.
Yeah, it's still going on around here as well. So, but yours are much more muted rather than bright felt pens.
Well, I think I don't have any felt pens. I was given these watercolour crayons, and also I've only got one colouring in book, which is called The Art of Mindfulness, Happy and Energised Colouring. I think if I had a different book with different templates, it would bring a different artist out of me.
A different mood, exactly.
Yes, indeed. So last night I had a little mooch around on Amazon and nearly bought myself some new books, and then I thought, no, get over it, Morgan, finish the ones in the book you've got.
Yeah, but you needed a second book lined up because, God forbid, you should ever be without something to colour in.
Well, and then I found, I was leaning towards the ones that were just flowers, but I think that would be a bit dull, to be honest.
Yeah. Look, listen, anything that leads one around the stationery pawn shop is all right by me. Yeah? I love nothing better than a new notebook.
Well, my client Alice, who's an artist, said, "Oh, this is the beginning of a lot of retail therapy," and I went, "No, it'll all be clutter to me. I won't need any more supplies." Well, you couldn't be more wrong, quite frankly. Alice, if you're listening, and I know you do, you were right, darling. Sorry.
Were you going to work out what to do with these colouring books after you finish with them? Are you going to throw them away?
Well, I'll bin them. But interestingly, some of the ones I will. Some of the ones that you can buy on Amazon, you can pull them out, colour them in and frame them, which again would be clutter for me. But I would like to be able to pull them out because photocopying the book in order to upload them to Facebook is not very easy.
No, absolutely. So what else have you been up to apart from colouring?
Yeah, well, let's go to something more important, shall we? So by close of business tomorrow, I shall have inducted all my new September intake clients, many of whom have committed to a year. So it'll be the 24th of September by the time I've done that, which seems like a long time, but September's a very busy month and my diary was very full and it took me that long to get around to all of the new ones. But it's exciting meeting newbies and, talking to them about their hopes and dreams for their fledgling business. That's my excitement, really. I mean, I love my old clients just as much, but it's fascinating finding new people. In fact, there's a complete stranger in my diary tomorrow. I have no idea who she is or what she wants. That's quite fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's sunny and cold in Shoreham, and it's quite nice. I quite like it. It's, the spiders are still at it with their web weaving, but haven't had any nasties in the house yet. So I've had a difficult week because I've had no email for this week. I didn't realise for 3 or 4 days. I moved 2 shared servers to 1 dedicated server at my hosting company because some of my emails were being knocked back by people who had one-on-one email addresses, because one-on-one had decided that one of my Liquid Web servers, shared servers, was spamming people. It might have been another activity on the server. It certainly wasn't me. So I moved to a dedicated server, and the grief it's caused, I said to the man when we were doing it, is there anything I need to watch out for on this? And bearing in mind their sideline, Liquid Web, is heroic support. I said to this chap, is there anything I need to watch out for on this? And he didn't say anything particular. And not only have I not been able to get any emails, and I don't know, they'd be going into their webmail thing, so I can go and have a mooch about, but there's hundreds of them. So I'm not very impressed with their heroic support at the moment. I'm giving them some very direct feedback.
I have to say that I am also with Liquid Web. I didn't know we were both at the same host, and I'm not overly delighted about it, to be honest.
Well, they're better than the HostGator and the other one. I can't remember who it was now, but they're a step up from there. And I am, paying a considerable amount of money to have my own dedicated server. But I just really feel that they could have warned me about, now they've decided that Google won't let me do the emails because I need an SSL certificate. I said, well, my emails were working last week without one. Why do I need one now? Oh, because you're on a dedicated server.
Yeah.
So, it's like, well,
yeah, I know. I think they're in one of the industries that's responsive, not anticipative.
Yeah, absolutely. The air has been blue round here, let me tell you.
Yeah. The air between Shoreham and Toronto, or wherever they're in Canada, aren't they?
I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I've booked my cruise hotel, which is, I'm not very good at doing things in advance, but when you're told you'd better book it this week or there might not be anything for you to sleep.
Now, hang on, roll back. The cruise, is this January?
January, yes. So
yeah, wow, okay. So that is advanced planning for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I was told yesterday I better book my main mastermind hotel in Vegas because they're filling up rapidly as well.
And when is that? That's
May.
Oh, my word.
I know. And I'm booked to go to Australia in March, so it's all very in advance for me at the moment, which is, I've got to tell you, it terrifies the living daylights out of me committing that far ahead. I wonder why.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting because somebody said to me yesterday they were thinking of offering services to their clients to be able to buy a bundle of things for a whole year in advance. And I thought of you immediately, and I said to my client, beware taking on something where you are committing to deliver, to be available to people for 12 months. I know about myself that I can do it. I know that most creator entrepreneurs would find that a burden after a while. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's kind of it turns into a straitjacket, I think, somehow.
It does a bit. I mean, I've got the Shoreham Tech meetup tonight, which I organise at our local pub, and it's nothing more complicated than putting it on Eventbrite and then sitting in the pub for until people turn up or don't, and then I go home if they don't. And last time, lots of people turned up, and it was really nice. But this morning I woke up and I thought, God, it's only month 2, right? And I really enjoyed month 1, but it was the thing of having to go. I just didn't like it at all. Yeah. But the thing about hotel booking is, I keep telling myself, you're only booking the rooms. You can cancel. You can cancel. Yes. You can cancel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why it's so weird, but it is. But there you go. So I know what I'm doing till on and off till next May.
Wow, Nicola. Wow.
I know. What's fueled your fire then this week?
Well, I had a really fun evening on, 2 things actually. Well, no, one an extension. I had a fun evening on Monday when I went round to have supper with my 2 bestest and oldest friends, because they're both quite active on Twitter and they've decided now that they want to blog. They were terribly grateful that I came, and I said, look, I love this topic so much, I'd go a lot further to talk to people I like a lot less than you two about blogging. Yeah. So I sat and sort of threw at them everything I knew about blogging. They are both retired, one in her 60s and her husband is 70. And yet they've got opinions and information and thoughts and advice and wisdom to share with the world. They like social media. They want a new thing to, focus their week around. And they both like expressing themselves in the written word. They've had different careers from each other. And so I left them with a challenge of get 100 blog posts up and I'll be back.
100! Wow!
100 each, Nicola.
Good God.
Yeah. I think for Jane it'll be easier than for David. David tends to write long, thoughtful essays. I don't think he'll get 100 up in a year, but and I don't think his blogging is designed to do that. But actually, also one of my clients, Sam, has launched something called the Blog Club, which is only 29 quid a month, which is to help small business owners, which isn't my friends actually, but to help small business owners who know they should be blogging, to do more of it and why to do it and how to do it and all that sort of thing. And I could almost join that. I mean, even though I know how to blog and why to blog, I haven't really blogged very much this year, and I think I should have been. And you know that when you're in something where you're paying and you're part of a team, you're more likely to do it, aren't you?
Yeah, much more likely, unless you're not.
Yeah, so this week, blogging has fueled my fire. What's fueled yours?
Well, I'd like to just mention at this point that we've had so many lovely comments on. I mean, I keep stumbling across nice comments about the podcast, and I just wanted to tell everyone that we have a page on Facebook for the podcast, which you can like, of course, and where the episodes get put. But we've also created a private group on Facebook. And that's for people to come and join the community of people who listen to the podcast and perhaps discuss the issues that we cover in the client challenge of the week in private. So you can find that. I'm going to put a link up on ownitthepodcast.com. So if you just type in the URL ownitthepodcast.com/FB, then you will then find the private group and just request membership. And we'll know. I can put it in the show notes as well, can't I? Yeah, that's great. So ownitthepodcast.com/FB is the link, and that will take you straight to the private group. Just request to be a member, and we'll approve you straight away. And it's all about building a community around your podcast. All the big startup podcasters are doing it very successfully, and it's just nice to have somewhere private to discuss the content of the podcast. Really, I've got 2 extracurricular inquiries this week. Which I did try to decide to bat away, but in the end I came up with an idea for both of them. One client wants me to be her featured expert, and she wants to give her clients access to my Facebook ads training, and she also wants me to be, turn up live to coach her students teach her students rather than coach them. And I thought, I can't do that. I can't, because my Facebook ads training needs updating because they changed the interface as soon as I'd finished recording it, which was jolly annoying. And even though I did do a video showing the differences, which are minimal, it still looks quite different. So I sort of feel like I need to redo it. But I came up with an idea for how to do that, and I'll tell you about that in my project section. And another ex-client wants me to get involved in the government's Business Accelerator programme, which is where you can get 50% funded for any training that the Business Accelerator programme deem will improve your business by 20% or more. So it's only for 50% funding for things around marketing, and apparently they're extremely keen on digital marketing, although they haven't got anyone yet who could do a good course for them. So I've just submitted a proposal. I said, oh no, I can't do that. Oh, you can't, form filling, not my thing. But the ex-client is one of their Business Accelerator facilitators. So she has promised me that we'll be a team, and she'll do all the form filling and all the applications and everything. And I just have to deliver. And you can get up to 50% funding, up to £4,000 worth of training. So it's not like one of those little, piddly things that they normally do with the government, where it's 300 quid and then they'll give you 150 back. It's £4,000 worth of training, and you'll get £2,000 of it back. So rather nice. So that's fueled my fire. I'd forgotten to write proposals, but I managed to churn one out. It's amazing what you do with several lumps of £4,000 dangled in front of you.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Do you feel isolated and alone in running your own home-based business? Do you have worries, doubts, fears and resistance which sometimes make you feel like giving up? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, you're perfectly normal. It can be scary all by yourself. But what if you could learn how to become a confident business owner, how to trust yourself more and grow your income, relax and be more creative and productive? Small Business Big Magic is a unique business mentoring group providing grounded practical support and advice, fast responses to your questions, inspiration and solutions to boost your clarity and help you find direction, focus and success in your life and business. Join Small Business Big Magic today for the friendship and encouragement of others just like you and the enthusiasm of a coach who gets you and your business. There's big magic for your small business at judithmorgan.com.
Yeah, so what's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, I spoke to somebody on Saturday who wanted to talk to me about hiring and firing, so I thought we might talk about that today. He was telling me that he'd got this very nice person who'd asked him for a job and that he wanted to find a job for her. And I went, no, that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
We do it the E-Myth way and the 1 Minute Manager way. And the E-Myth way is you create a job description and you hire to the role. And you don't find a job for a nice person. And he kept saying, well, I'll just tell you about the person. And after a while I said, look, can I stop you there? Because really, it's a terrible mistake to hire your friends and your sisters and your family and nice people and da-da-da. It is the sort of thing we're tempted to do, and I've certainly done it in the past. And then he told me a story that you'll probably know about Eben Pagan looking for an assistant.
No, I don't know that at all, no.
Is that his name? Is that his name, Eben Pagan? Something like that, isn't it?
Well, Eben, yes. He's a very, very well-known trainer in America, very well-respected.
Well, apparently he wrote a fantastic job description which said, if you're a people person, this isn't for you. If you're an X, Y, and Z, this isn't for you. You know, he basically, it was all about exclusions. He narrowed it down quite tightly. And my client has a fantastic brand that an awful lot of people would want to work for. I said to him, when I see you in my diary, there's a little shiver of excitement that goes through me because I can't quite believe that I'm your coach, you know, because he's famous and exactly. So lots of people are going to work for him. And then, of course, that flipped it on the coin, which is, I don't really want to advertise these jobs because how will I handle all of the applications? And I said, well, look, one problem at a time. So we talked about, you know, how we do it here, the procedures manual, and how when you hire a person, I think they've done this a couple of times, you hire nice people and they're sort of doing the job you want, but you're still dissatisfied. And I told them what you always say, which is, you know, it's not a failure of the person, it's a failure of the system, as long as you've got a system. And how, you know, if you've got a procedures manual and you delegate and train that person and they rise to the occasion and then they leave, which of course is a common problem with staff, how they can train their replacement that you've chosen because you've hired to the role. Yeah. And I think also the other thing is that you have to believe it's possible. I think, you know, people hiring staff and firing staff, it can be depressing, and you can think, oh, no, I've delegated and trained and I've put all of this, you know, resource into another person and now they're leaving, slump, and back to where I was. But that's kind of the name of the game with staff, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I didn't stay in a job very long. I sucked up as much as I could. I gave enormous value for money according to my own criteria, and then I moved on with my experience further up the career ladder. So I think it's sort of, it goes with the territory. Equally, of course, we've all met people who've been in jobs for 40 years and loved it. So it isn't hopeless, I don't think. Hiring and firing. And I know you've learnt to do that recently, haven't you, Nicola?
Yeah, I don't find it easy, Judith. You know, I still tend to slip into the hire a nice person thing. Although I am a lot more cold-blooded about it now. You know, there are two good resources for this. If you go to, 1 second. If you go to Superfast Business podcast, Superfast Business, look at the blog. James Schramko talks about this a lot because he's got about 50 staff now, and he always hires 2 people, and he you know, gives them both projects to do, and you know, often one will win out. But then immediately one leaves, he gets the other one to hire a second person. So he calls it your Noah, hire and train your Noah, because Noah's Ark, they went on 2 by 2.
Oh, yes.
And so he always wants 2 people doing a role, you know, part-time sort of, or, you know, so there's always someone to cover for holidays. There's always someone to cover if someone's sick. There's always someone to train the replacement. So he doesn't have to get involved in it at all. He obviously did at the beginning. But there's and also Stelly and Heighton talk about this on one of their podcast episodes as well, because
I'm sorry, I'm just going to ignore that.
I'm not mention of Stelly there, are you? 11th week on the trot. Anyway, apparently he had when he closed his sales company to focus entirely on the software business, he had to fire a lot of people, and it was very, very painful indeed. And he'd had to hire. I mean, they also talk, Heightons had to fire people in the past. So, it's, again, a very good episode, highly recommended. And that podcast is called the Business Startup Chat. So do go and listen to what other people have done and how successful entrepreneurs feel about it, because we all feel bad about it. When everything fizzled out with Raw, I just had to let everyone know, and I felt bad about it. But you feel less bad about it if you are not someone's sole source of income, and of course that is the definition of a freelancer, isn't it? Where they're getting no more than 50% of their income from any one source. So that's important. You definitely write a job description and be really, really ruthless about it, and then hire to that job description. It just makes it so much more difficult when someone doesn't do a job well, even if you address the system with them rather than the person. And that did make it a lot easier when I had the hotel. Even if the cleaner did something stupid, I never forget once I came in from abroad, and they were playing the wrong music in the dining room. And I said, I just waited till breakfast was over. I didn't have to get mad about it. I just waited till breakfast was over. And I said, where's the how we do it here manual then? And it was stuffed in a drawer, of course. And I said, I just opened it up and I said, look, you've got to leave this out on the side. You've got to refer to it occasionally because, you're doing things wrong. And this is how I want it done here. So it does make it easier. It depersonalises it, I think, rather than going, you stupid person, why aren't you doing this right?
Yes. I think the other thing that my client was trying to do was he had 3 separate virtual roles that were part-time. And the temptation was to roll it together into one job, despite the fact that each of the 3 separate roles required a completely different skill set.
Yeah, people.
So then you would have somebody doing some bits of their job really well and other bits really badly, and it wouldn't be their fault.
Absolutely, and creative. I mean, it's quite interesting with Facebook ads. It is a really enjoyable for me combination of geeky and creative. So there's picking the pictures are really important, being able to write the copy is really important, and then being able to look at the overall ad and see what impact it's having. But then you need to be able to track, which ads being, you need to set up the campaigns in the first place and then be able to track which ads are performing best. And that is quite a tricky combination of skills.
I agree.
Theoretically, I would have one techie person doing all the variations and reporting, and one creative person creating the ads and seeing what impact that they have on the page and things like that. But I'm not quite there yet. But a lot of people do this with VAs. They try and hire VAs who are able to do their WordPress development and who are able to talk to customers and things like that. And it just doesn't work. But you do need to get help because you cannot do it all yourself.
And I do think you have to, I think so many people start with a dread in their heart. So you do actually have to choose to believe it's possible. There are, is it 8 billion people in the world? There's pretty much bound to be somebody who's going to be able to help you with some of the elements of your business that need to be done by somebody else.
Yeah, and I have got I know that Odesk is merged with Elance or something like that, or Upwork. I think it's all called Upwork now. Anyway, I'm not sure. But I do have a 15-point tick list. I think it's 13 or 15-point tick list on how to hire effectively on these virtual platforms. So, Judith, I will ping that over to you after the show, and we can put that in the show notes for people to download.
Lovely. And the other thing that I'm thinking of, and I think one of the reasons why people like us might dread this, is because when you take on people, there's a sense in which you or somebody on your team needs to manage them, which is why I like to recommend the 1 Minute Manager, which is a very thin book. And I can summarise what it says to you now, which is have their job description on 1 page of A4. Tell them very quickly when they do it right and tell them very quickly when they do it wrong.
Yeah, and the other thing that the E-Myth Manager was brilliant for, I highly recommend that book, I really enjoyed it almost as much as the original book, is to make people audition for the role. So instead of, hating interviews so much that you're just desperate for the person to be right so you can stop the interview process, do it in an audition situation. So bring everyone perhaps to a webinar together, tell them all about the job, tell them about the company, tell them about your vision for the company, and then let them self-select who wants to go forward to a proper interview. and they only,
that's interesting.
yeah, and so it was under the E-Myth Manager actually, and I really,
I was just going to say, we're talking about different books. You're talking about the E-Myth Manager, and I'm talking about the 1 Minute Manager. That's why there was a little gap where you went all silent and you were trying to compute, and then you immediately started talking about the E-Myth Manager instead. I haven't read that one.
It's a great read, Judith. It's a thoroughly enjoyable read, and it's really good about managing people. That's where I got it all from. So I was able to do the hotel. But 1 Minute Manager, again, a brilliant book. Really loved it.
Yeah. But also, you can read it. You can read the 1 Minute Manager in about an hour, whereas the E-Myth Manager is a bit of a tome, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit like the original book. It's it depends how fast you read, really. Or you could even get your VA to read it for you and highlight the pertinent parts. Which is what I'm
anyway. I don't want to be a manager, and I don't want any staff ever again. I've had that, thank you very much. But I'm not growing a business where I need staff. Happily for me.
Right, I just had to mute you for a second because, of course, the posties arrived. So any further thoughts on that? While I just mute myself for a second.
No. I'm done on the hiring and firing and staffing and managing. Believe it's possible, I think, is my overriding thing.
And the other thing is to believe that there are people out there who do certain parts of your job better than you. And so
I agree.
Creating a much better synergy in your business if you've got 5 people,
yes,
all 4 of whom are doing bits of your old job better than you ever did.
Yes, I do think that. And I also think allow them the wriggle room to bring you the ideas that improve the system. So let them, have a little bit of creative space themselves to offer to you ways of doing things even better.
And then there's the thing of how do you keep track of how well it's all going. James Schramko's got what he calls a traffic light system. So everybody has to send him a little weekly report by email. And they start their weekly report with, how are things at the moment? They're red, green or orange, which means that green means that everything's fine. I've got capacity. I'm coping with my work. There's nothing going wrong and I don't need any training right now. And then there's amber, which means that there are some issues. We might need to address them, but they're okay this week. And then red means that either you've run out of capacity or there are things you don't know how to do or you need some training or something's gone wrong. So the person copies their email report to James and to their line manager because he has one person under him who looks after all the outsourcers, like a VA who's solely responsible for that. And then each department, if you like, so design, web design has its own line manager. And then under the line manager, there's the different people always in 2 roles. So the line manager knows that there's perhaps an orange, amber or red sign coming from someone, and James knows, but James doesn't have to do anything about it until the line manager brings it to him. So that's quite a simple way of keeping track of whether everyone's happy, whether everyone's doing their job properly, whether anyone needs training, whether they've got capacity for more.
And there's an entity that's big enough to have managers. I think, my clients will fear that they'll have to turn into managers, which I don't. I certainly managing other people or managing anything, frankly, would put dread into my heart.
Yeah, I used to even dread the weekly meetings at Raw. They somehow the energy in them would go down, and I hated it. It hung over me horribly. So we don't actually have meetings. We just, they just send me their invoices, and I just occasionally say, everything all right? You okay? You will let me know. And we've got a Slack helps enormously as well because we're talking on Slack all the time. So we tend to deal with issues as they come up via Slack. Mm. And luckily, even through my email nightmare this week, the Slack messages have kept coming, so I didn't miss anything from my.
Oh yes,
which was rather good.
Very good.
Cool. So, word of the week, madam.
You go first.
Okay, visible. In that, I wanted to be more visible, and I also wanted to add value with my visibility. Now, visibility to your potential future customers could come in several ways. It can obviously come through your website and your search engine ranking, although that's harder and harder nowadays. It can come through your autoresponders and your e-zines. I know you send a regular e-zine, and I do autoresponders, and then I do the occasional broadcast. It can come through ads, for example, remarketing ads, which are very inexpensive. So if someone visits your website for the next 180 days, they occasionally see an ad reminding them about you, which is inexpensive and very visible. And then I've just started a weekly Facebook ads clinic. because I was trying to think of something I could do regularly, so people could turn up. And I don't like fortnightly things because they sort of a bit irregular, and monthly I don't think it's enough. So I was looking for something I could do weekly that just sort of involved me pitching up and being there and helping people. So that's what I'm doing to be more visible. So I think you've got to think about, if you want, if you're not where you want to be yet, then think, how visible am I to my potential future clients?
Very nice. And my word is nerve, as in holding your nerve, because being an entrepreneur, working for yourself, involves risk. And sometimes, putting an initiative out there requires you to hold your nerve for a bit.
Yes, it does. And it's a good word, because one of my clients has just lost her nerve, and she wanted to just stop. And I said, I can't believe it. You've got a digital product ready to launch. You've had a tough summer, I know, but you're so close now. Your ads are starting to make sales. You've got a new digital product that you could start selling. You could launch to your list. It'd be crazy to lose your nerve now. That was the exact thing I said to her. So yeah, that's a great.
And what do you think underlines her potential loss of nerve?
Oh, it's financial scarcity, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we've done a deal, where I've said, okay, well, let's work together for the remainder of the year, because if you lose your nerve right now, every bit of work we've done to date will be lost and wasted. Yeah. All that work we've done together. Let's just hold our nerve and press on.
Good girl. So let's do project updates, shall we?
Yeah, sure. I've put everything on hold except clicks, leads and sales, because I realised that through the summer I wasn't really paying it much attention, and it has suffered from that. I had lunch with Rachel Turner on Monday. Do you remember Rachel, my first ever coach?
I do. I certainly do.
Very good.
I also remember going to her business workshop in the Money Gym, and I still teach people one of the exercises she taught me that day, actually.
Oh, fabulous. Well, she's in very good form, and she gets all her business from referrals. She doesn't do any, she's barely got a website.
Did you tell her? We debated that on the podcast several times.
Yeah, I did. Marketing. She doesn't even know what a podcast is. She's so she's proud of it as well. She totally is not really that interested. But she was having lunch with me because she's having an art class around the corner regularly, and so fortnight. So we got together and we talked about it. And she said, that everything. She said that it takes 3 months for her results to catch up with her energy. So she's got a few client spaces at the moment. So she's doing a lot of networking with previous clients. She's having lunches with people. We've set up a call where I tell her exactly what I'm looking for. She tells me exactly who she's looking for, and we go through our well, in her case, she's going to go through her diary and refer me to a few people. And in my case, I'm going to do a broadcast for her, just obviously recommending her because I worked with her for 3 years. So. But it was interesting when she said that thing about the energy taking 3 months to catch up. So I've put everything else on hold again because I want clicks, leads and sales, which is the mentoring part of it, to catch up.
Good. I think I recommended that. So actually what we've done across the summer, we've talked about diversification, and now we're going back to focus.
Yes, well, I am anyway.
Yeah, I'm not. That's good. I've got 2 bits of news to tell you this week. One's very quick, and then the other one's a little bit longer because I think you'll quite like it. In one of my projects, you'll remember that all of this bit on the side stuff started with a thing that was going to be about scratch cards online.
Yes.
And that one failed to launch, but another one is up and running and well launched and working, and I'm enjoying it. And I've won the jackpot twice this week, which is quite exciting. Okay. Now, winning the jackpot is only points, and points mean tickets that go into the draw, so it's not that exciting. But seeing the button, you've won the jackpot, not once but twice in a week, I think is a very good omen. But the thing I wanted to tell you about is I'm also testing, I've been telling you this for some time, this tips service adjacent to Profit Accumulator, where I'm actually gambling. But I'm gambling to a system. First of all, I have a tip. And this is how it works. I'm going to have to get my calculator out to show you how it works. It's a 4-stage thing. You need to have a pot of a certain size. So you decide on what your stake is going to be. And currently, mine is 40. So I bet 40 on a tip, And if it wins, I bet 40 on a tip. And if it wins, I bet 40 on a tip forever. If it loses, you have to double up by a factor of 2.1. So, excuse me, 40 quid on the second bet becomes £84. 40 times 2.1. 40 times 2.1. 84 quid. And if that wins, you go back to 40. If it loses, you've got to double up again, times 2.1, which is £176.40. And if that wins, you go back to 40. And if it loses, you have to double up again, times 2.1. £370.44. Now, the reason why I've done those four sums is because you have to add together 40, 84, £176.40 and £370.44 to a total of £670.84, and that's your pot. So if you haven't got that, you can't do it. Okay. Now, if the fourth one doesn't win, and I haven't gone to 4 yet, you're bust and you go back to 40. And these are called trades. They don't call them bets, they call them trades. I've done 1 a lot, I've done 2 a fair amount, and I've done 3 a couple of times. But the doubling up by 2.1 means you pick up what you lost on the earlier trades.
And is that due to the law of averages or what? I mean,
it's actually a system. There's a system called, I think it's called the martingale system or something like that. This is an adaptation of it. There's also another one which is more complicated than this, and I haven't got my head around it yet, but I will share that. But I'm enjoying it, and it's fun, and it's making, I think it's going to make at least as much as profit accumulation. It's much easier.
Interesting. You'd need your nerve for that one, wouldn't you?
Well, you certainly do at T3, as we call it, which is £176.40. I haven't gone to a T4 yet, the fourth trade, because actually if that one doesn't work, you bust and you go back to the beginning. But if your total pot, so in Betfair, which is where I do it, my total pot's worth at least £670.84, so I'm not really bothered.
Okay, I need to know more about this because having got involved in Profit Accumulator, which did really, really well, but I decided this last week is just too time consuming at the moment. I'm still intrigued by this sort of thing, but so I'd like to know more about.
I'm still testing it. Okay, and when it's work, I mean, Sharon's feeding me the tips. Sharon, a lady who's introduced me to quite a lot of these opportunities in the bit on the side section, and at the moment we're all in test mode. So I'm an R&D team, part of the R&D team, and then she's going to open up a little membership club. I think she's mooted $4.99 a month, where she'll hand out these tips every day, which is what she's doing to us at the moment. And
$4.99 or $499?
No, £4.99 a month.
You never know, do you?
No, but the thing about it, like Profit Accumulator, is it's a system, and you've got to do as you're told.
Yeah, which is nice because you don't have to think.
It is nice because you don't have to think. It's quite fast. You know, the first thing I do in the morning is get up. We're often doing it on baseball. Get up in the morning, find out if we win or lose, look for Sharon's tip, place the bet, move on. And that's faster than Profit Accumulator. And typically, same as you, I've had such a busy September. I haven't got time to do the long training. I will come back to it, but I've stalled on the long training in the advanced section because it's quite time consuming on Profit Accumulator. Testing Sharon's tips, and if that works, I might switch, but we'll see how we go. I might do both, actually. I'm not sure yet. Too soon to say. But a system, it's interesting, isn't it? Because normally we as entrepreneurs would resist systems. We want to create them. But sometimes it's quite relaxing just doing as you're told.
Well, I think we've actually created systems in our business already, haven't we? So I think we've got a bit of extra capacity brain-wise to take on something else, but only if it's got its own system built in and we don't have to create any more.
Yeah, and maybe so we had time in August, I think, for Profit Accumulators training, but now we're back to proper work, as it were. It's a little bit time consuming, I agree.
Yeah, the one thing I forgot to tell you in my project update was, and it is relevant to this, is that I've been looking very much at my system and clicksandleads.com, where I've got ads going to the website and people either book in for they download the report or they book in for a demo session. But what I realised was there were 2 bits missing in the system, and the weekly Facebook ads clinic is the free thing, which I'm doing to become more visible. But I'm also going to do a quarterly boot camp, a virtual boot camp, where people can spend 1.5 days with me on GoToWebinar or Skype, and I'll teach them how to do it. And I completely forgot to mention that, but I'll give you the link for the show notes. But that's all part of my systemizing clicks and leads. And, I think it's so important when someone's got a business to think about what, the customer journey as a system. And I think you've pretty much cracked that now, haven't you?
I don't really think of it as a system. I don't struggle with admin because I've been an administrator for, all of my life, really. And I don't think of it as a system. If I called it a system, that would be very off-putting for me. And everything for me is always about how to keep it as simple as possible. So quite often I find people overcomplicate things, and I say, well, how can we make it easier than that? How can we strip it back? Because my clients are like me, one person at home doing it all by themselves in the main. So why overcomplicate it? Why have too many layers? It's always, no, that's too complicated. Strip it back. I just strip it back, everything. So then you can't go wrong. You can't get confused. Imagine you're stupid is what I would do when creating a system, or that the person you're going to teach to use it is a little bit thinner than you are.
Who or what's impressed this week?
I'm particularly impressed. I'm in two minds about this, but I'm particularly impressed by a leader in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, where one of our projects had a little bit of a wobble. You could say quite a big wobble, actually. And I was thinking about this when I was thinking about nerve, actually, because, as a leader in crisis, in any situation, actually, you have to lead from the front, don't you? And what I saw him doing was keeping his nerve, keeping your head when all about you are losing theirs, or whatever it was Rudyard Kipling said.
Yeah.
He didn't overreact. He chose to respond in an elegant way. And what I realised is that I would have over-responded. I would have wanted to make it all right for everybody. I would be in there, responding to every single thing. But he didn't do that. He held himself aloof from it. He brought in facts and figures, and he didn't overreact to the naysayers and the fear-mongering and all that kind of thing. So leadership skills where you create a climate where you lead from the front and don't get down and dirty with the difficult people that sometimes turn up in any awkward situation.
Yeah, interesting you say that, because I'm in a group with a very well-known internet marketer, and I'm one of the moderators. And they went to a workshop, and they came back and they started to put her things into practice, the things she'd recommended and shown them how to do. And one or two didn't have the results that they were hoping for, and they started immediately to turn on her and say the whole thing was a scam and a fake and a fraud. And she taught them out-of-date methods that didn't work. And it was only really their own fears and negativity and lack coming up. So I was able to sort of get in there straight away and say, well, look, I know this works. And I have done this myself, and it did work for me. So you're either doing something wrong, or you need to swap a tactic a bit. But yes, it's interesting how quickly people turn on the leaders, isn't it? When they're
so quick, breathtakingly fast, Nicola. I've been appalled by the behaviour I've seen this week. Very low.
Yeah, isn't there something going on in the political world at the moment where someone's written a book about someone that just brings one of the leaders into disrepute? I can't remember, something about pigs.
I don't know. But anyway, tell me who or what's impressed you this week.
Oh, you're going to like this one. It's a bit of software. It's called... Our mutual friend Manesh is such an enthusiastic puppy dog person. He is always trying new things. And the reason he can try new things is because he's outsourced just about everything. He barely does a stroke of work in his business all day. So he pops up on Skype annoying me and asking my opinions about things. Anyway, he said to me, Visual Website Optimizer, I absolutely love it. I said, okay, so what's different about Optimizely? He said, well, Hang
on, slow down. What is the piece of software called?
Visual Website Optimizer.
Okay.
And it's a more sophisticated version of Optimizely. And Optimizely is something where you put a bit of code on your website and you can change any element of any page without actually changing your website. And you can specify how much. So, for example, on a sales page, you could change the headline, you could change a picture, You could change a picture for 5 different pictures, in fact, if you've got enough traffic. And you can really do some serious testing without having to do anything to your website at all. And it's so easy to use. It's unbelievable. So very, very, we once improved an e-cigarette company sales by 4,000% by just putting a picture of a pretty girl on the order page. Just by experimenting with different pictures in the background because they had nothing. And so Optimizely, very, very good tool, free to a certain point. They used to charge for it, but they don't anymore up to a certain point. I think you get X number of experiments for free. So go and look at Optimizely as well. But Visual Website Optimizer, I said to Minesh, right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Optimizely or Optimize Me?
Optimizely.
Okay.
And so that's worth looking at. But to get perhaps experimenting a bit. But I said to Minesh, right, give me the headlines here. Why do I need to go and look at Visual Website Optimizer over Optimizely? He said because you can split test lead pages and you can send paid traffic to specific landing pages. So you've got more control, basically. I said, well, you can do split testing in lead pages. Why would you want to do it in something else? He said because it's clunky in lead pages and it's just much easier to do many variations in Visual Website Optimizer. But I think what I'm trying to say more than anything is how we do, once you've got your system, for your client flow, from traffic to different parts of your being visible, and then you give value, and then you get people into your mailing list and you encourage them to watch videos and things, and all that customer journey. There's certain pivot points in that customer journey that can make a huge difference. And if you only improve 10 of your pivot points by 10%, you're not going to get 100% improvement. You're going to get 1,000% improvement. So Visual Website Optimizer is one of those tools that enables you to improve your pivot points dramatically. So if you've got a customer journey, why not take a look at how to improve each pivot point? There you go.
Noise.
Thunder in silence.
Yes, exactly. The only pivots I'm interested in are on Strictly Come Dancing. But there you go, Nicola.
I'm ignoring Strictly Come Dancing, but I have got a 15-1 bet on Anton Stevens winning the X Factor. Laid off, of course.
Stevens. Which one was he?
He's the one who's been a backing singer for lots of huge.
Oh yes, the one with the teeth. He wasn't that good on Saturday night, I would have to say.
No, he wasn't. He was a bit disappointing, but I thought.
I got his lyrics.
Yeah, I didn't like the. That was a bit shocking, wasn't it? I didn't like that whole singing together in a group thing. I didn't like it at all. So I'm looking forward to next week.
They often do a bit of that. I don't know where we're going this weekend. Are we having the 6-chair challenge again? That was awful. I do hope we don't have that.
No, this weekend we've got boot camp where they're going to sing their own song.
Oh, good.
That'll be much better. And then it's off to judges' houses.
Yes, it will. Yes, good. Judges' house is my favourite, actually.
Yeah, I like it. I like seeing where. Well, I know they don't actually live there, but I do like seeing all the different.
No, they don't. But we have some glamorous location work, don't we?
Exactly. Right, that's us done then.
Right.
We're
yeah.
So just one last thing. Don't forget to come to ownitthepodcast.com/FB to join the private group, and we will see you in there. Bye, everyone.
Okay, babes.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.